Jai Janendra. In this lecture, we shall talk about an important principle of Jainism called Lesya, and we will see how what is the scientific significance of Lesya. How does it correlate with body? Lesya is an important concept in Jainism, but it is not very well understood. There is a diversity of views about Lesya in literature. Simply defined, Lesya is a phenomena that binds soul with karma. This is what has been emphasized, that the bonding of karma is due to Lesya. Lesya defines our inner personality determined by our bhav. Bhav is important, very important in our life, and in fact this defines our inner personality, which is Lesya. Bhav represents our inner emotions, passions and desires. The Lesya comprising of bhav are expressed without the help of mind. That is, mind has no role in their expression. So Lesyas, is independent of mind. Although Lesyas affect mind, but the other way around does not happen, that is, mind does not affect Lesya. Basically, Lesya is connected with the bhav, and then a bhav determines, to some extent, the state of our mind. So, let us now talk about how the Lesyas are produced and what Lesyas are. There are bhav Lesya and drav Lesya. As usual, you can define a principle related to soul and related to its physical existence. Bhav Lesya and drav Lesya. Bhav Lesya is the karma generated state of the soul. So it's a state of the soul, and the state of the soul is determined by karmas which are active. Drav Lesya, a kind of emission, are said to have color and other properties of Pudgal. So Drav Lesya is physical, and it has a color and other properties, as we will see. Drav Lesya is formed by combination of Karman Vargana and Tejas Vargana. This thing is not very clearly stated in our scriptures, but there are only two subtle bodies, Karman body and a Tejas body, and all phenomena which are taking place in the gross body are related to these two bodies, Karman body and Tejas body. There is no third thing, which is affecting the phenomena. Karman Varganas and Tejas Varganas have all colors, tastes, smells and four touches. What are these four touches? Hot and cold and smooth and rough. But Drav Lesya is supposed to be 8-touch matter, according to the scriptural texts. Drav Lesya is 8-touch matter. And this, of course, must be produced by aggregation of Karman Vargana and Tejas Vargana, which are 4-touch matter. And we saw in the last lecture also that the 4-touch Varganas can produce an 8-touch matter, like photon. Similarly, the 4-touch carbon Vargana and Tejas Vargana can produce 8-touch Lesya. Lesyas are classified based on color, although they have other properties too. There are 6 main types of Lesyas: Krishna, that is black; Neel, that is blue; Kapoth, that is grey; Tejo, that is red or orange; Padma, that is yellow; and Shukla, that is white. And I am going to give you a table which describes all the properties of Lesya. So use this table here. On the first column you find the name of the Lesya, Krishna, Neel, Kapoth and so on. Then the color. The Krishna color is like a dark dense cloud. That is how the color is defined. And it has a bitter taste, it has a bad smell and a rough touch. Neel Lesya is blue in color, is pungent like chili, it has a bad smell and a rough touch. Kapoth Lesya is like pigeon, pigeon color, then its taste is sour, smell is bad and touch is rough. Tejo Lesya is either red or orange in color, it's a sour sweet in taste, it has good smell and smooth touch. Padma Lesya is yellow in color, it's like astringent, like wine, astringent. This is the taste, it has good smell and a smooth touch. Shukla Lesya is white, milky white, sweet in taste, good smell and a smooth touch. Now these are the properties described in the scriptures, Uttradhyan Sutra and so on. But basically it is the color on which the Lesyas are described. Color of Lesya has a special significance in the psyche of a person. There is a relation between color of Lesya and psychology of the person. Each Lesya identifies a particular kind of personality. The first 3 are malevolent Lesyas and the last 3 are benevolent Lesyas, referring to bad and good personality respectively. The color of Lesya changes with time depending on our thoughts. The Lesya would change, according to the circumstances, according to your own thinking. The other way also is correct, the thinking changes with Lesya. So both are correlated, both are related, one depends on the other. So as our thinking changes, so does the Lesya color. So we can have all kinds of Lesyas, for example, we, the human beings and all animals can have all the 6 kinds of Lesya. How are Lesyas produced? This is the crucial question. 3 alternative theories have been proposed by commentators to explain the nature of Lesya. How are Lesyas produced? In the first theory, it is regarded as a product of patience and consequently as arising because of the rise of the Kachhara Mohini karma. So the theory says that as our Kachhara Mohini or Mohini karma rises, and that determines the type of Lesya. Okay. In the second, it is considered as the transformation of soul due to activity. and as such originating from the rise of Nam karma. So in this theory says that, look here, the Lesya is produced by your activities. We engage in activities of body, mind and speech, and these activities determine the type of Lesya. So these activities cause a transformation in the state of the soul, and that determines the Lesya. And in the third theory, the Lesya is conceived as a consequence of the 8 categories of karma. So in this theory it is said that all the 8 types of karma determine the state of Lesya or the type of Lesya. In all these theories, the Lesya represents the state of the soul. That is the fundamental thing, that the Lesya represents the state of the soul, our bhav, accompanying the realization of the effect of karma. And the state of the soul is determined by the karma, active karma. So essentially, Lesya is determined by the state of karma. State of karma determines the state of the soul, and that in turn determines the state of Lesya. Here the third theory implies, because it is referring to all 8 types of karma, so the Ayush karma is also being referred here. And Ayush karma contributes to Lesya production. This is assumed in this theory. But we know that this does not seem to be correct, because we know that Ayush karma decides only the lifespan. We know what does the Ayush karma do. So it decides only the lifespan, and is the source of Ayush prana that we have seen. Therefore, it does not seem to be correct, or it's not very likely that the Lesyas are produced by all 8 types of karma. So we are not accepting the third theory, so we accept the first 2 theories, that is, the Lesyas are produced by Mohini karma and Nam karma. Now let us talk a little bit about what is bhav, because bhav is related with Lesya. Lesyas determine our bhav, or vice versa, our bhav determines Lesya, and bhav in turn are determined by the state of the soul, and that also depends upon the active karma. So there is a chain. So bhav is disposition of the soul determined by the effect of active deluding karma. So the Mohini karma, the deluding karma, is the one which determines our bhav. And bhav can be of 5 kinds, of 5 types, Odayik bhav, Upashamik bhav, Kshayik bhav, Kshayoksamik bhav, or Parinamik bhav. These 5 types of bhav have been described in literature. What are these bhav? Say Odayik bhav. As a consequence of rise of deluding karma, produces malevolent Lesyas. So the Odayik bhav is produced by rise of Mohini karma. That's number 1. And if that happens, it produces malevolent Lesyas, bad Lesyas. And a Kshayoksamik bhav, because of the Kshayopsam of deluding karma, produces benevolent Lesyas of Tejo and Padma categories. So if you have a Kshayoksamik bhav determined by aKshayoksam of deluding karma, then we have benevolent Lesyas of Tejo and Padma type. Upashamik bhav, which is produced by suppression of karma, we already know, and a Kshayik bhav, which is produced by shading of karma. They produce pure Shukla Lesyas. These 2 types of Upashamik bhav which is produced by suppression of deluding karma, and Kshaik Bha, which is produced by the destruction of psychic karmas. They produce pure Shukla Lesyas. So we know now how the various types of Lesyas are produced. Benevolent Lesya is the cause of bonding merit or Punya karma, and malevolent Lesya is the cause of bonding Pap karma. So good Lesyas will bond Punya karma, which gives you pleasure in the life, and malevolent, the bad Lesyas will bond bad karma or Pap karma that will bring pain and suffering and misery in life. Lesyas change with bhav. Okay, and I told you this can happen other way around also. Any Lesya except Shukla Lesya lasts for a few minutes or some time, antar muhurt, and then changes to another type. So leave aside the Shukla Lesya. The other 5 Lesyas, keep on changing. It is possible that all 5 exist and all 5 change, depending upon our state of bhav, our thinking, Suppose, for example, I may be having a kapot Lesya at the moment. After some time, my bhav may be purified. Now I can have a tejo Lesya. That way, so depending upon your thinking and your bhav, the Lesyas change. And it can change in Antara Muhurt. Not necessarily that it changes in Antara Muhurt, but it can change in Antara Muhurt in a few minutes. So not necessarily this happens, it can also take longer duration, longer time. When Lesya changes from one type to another, then it is not necessary that the change follows the order of Lesya. That is, it changes from Krishna to Neel and so on. The change can take place jumping the order, say from Krishna to Kapot and to say Tejo and so on, So the order is not important when the Lesyas are changing. One Lesya can change to another without any order or without any predetermined order. Such changes take place in Bhava Lesya. So all the changes which we are talking are concerned with the Bhava Lesya. That is the state of our soul. That keeps on changing according to the active karma. There appears to be relation between Parinam, that is the state of the soul, Adhyavasaya and Lesya. So I am using 3 terms here: Parinam, Adhyavasaya and Lesya. So Parinam is the state of the soul, again determined by the active karma. Adhyavasaya also refer to the state of the soul, but it refers to kind of vibrations the soul has because of Parinam or state of the soul. So Adhyavasaya are more or less referring to the vibrations that are produced in the soul because of Parinam. And Lesya, of course, is again a state of the soul, but then one which gives rise to or produces a Dravya Lesya also. The soul experiences vibrations, what we call as Adhyavasaya, as I explained to you, under the influence of Bhav karma. So karma is the main force acting on the soul. Adhyavasaya bears the characteristic of the state of the soul, arising from the active karma. The Adhyavasaya produces similar vibrations in the karman body. So the karman body is also vibrating, according to the vibrations which are taking place in the soul. So the two are correlated. So karma state or the vibrations in the karman body are similar to the adhyavasaya, which are vibrations in the soul. So, when the karmas are released, or the karman varganas which are released from deluding karma and nam karma, this is how the leshyas are produced. So, they interact with the karman varganas released from nam karma would interact with the tejas body and produce the dravya lesya. So dravya lesya is produced by a chain of action, that is the karmas will interact with the rising karma, will interact with the tejas body and then produce lesya, which I told you is 80 matter. And so this produces dravya lesya. Though both karman vargana and tejas vargana are 40 matter, their combination as dravya lesya is 8 touch matter. So the varganas aggregate and produce 8 touch matter. How do lesyas interact with the gross body? This is the main question we want to address. What are the lesyas doing to our gross body? Well, nothing has been said in the scriptures in this respect. The scriptures are silent as far as the interaction of lesya with the gross body is concerned. So no information is available in the spiritual texts. But according to Acharya Mahapragya, dravya lesyas in human body interact with the endocrine glands, mainly the pituitary and hypothalamus, and influence secretion of hormones. This is an important phenomena, although it has been stated or discovered rather only in the recent times. The ancient scriptures mention nothing like this. But Acharya Mahapragya is of the view, and I think his view is correct, that these lesyas interact with the endocrine glands and the master glands, the pituitary and hypothalamus are supposed to be master glands, which control the secretions of other glands in the body. And these lesyas influence secretion of these master glands, hormones. In psychology, hormones are known to relate to our emotions, and therefore it is logical to assume an interaction between lesya and endocrine glands. So we have this information from psychology. The psychology says that the psychology depends on the hormones. What kinds of hormones are being released by glands, and that determines our psychology. So it's then obvious or logical to assume that the lesyas are related with endocrine glands, because the endocrine glands determine the hormone secretions and the psychology. And because we know the lesyas are related to our bhav, our psychology, okay, so we are correlating the scientific information and Jain philosophical information here and coming to a hypothesis that lesyas interact with glands, and they interact with master glands as per Acharya Mahapragya. Then it's biology. Hormones mix with blood and reach the nervous system and brain, influencing our emotions, thoughts, attitude, speech, conduct and behavior. all these things are related to hormones, Hormones are secreted by glands. So here we had tried to coordinate between the Jain philosophy and scientific knowledge. Thus, Lesyas determine our psychical personality and traits. Although Lesyas act independent of mind, they influence mind through its interaction with the brain and our activities through brain. So, our personality, psychology, is independent of mind. Your mind may be thinking something else, but your inner personality determined by Lesya is not controlled by mind. You can have your feelings, and your bhav, which bear no relationship with what you are thinking. Your thinking is there. In the other way around, the Lesyas do influence the mind. So the bhav influence the mind and not the other way around. The mind does not influence bhav. So the Lesyas have been related with human psychology. The different Lesyas exhibit the inner activity of the mind, showing that the means to be employed to achieve the ends vary with each individual's mental and moral characteristics. How do you want to achieve the ends? The means could be different, with the different kind of persons having different psychology. The characteristics of a person with a black Lesya. Now, this is described in scriptures, What is the psychology of a person having different kind of Lesyas? So the first we are talking of black Lesya. So a person with black Lesya is wrathful, consistently hostile, wicked, violent, unmindful of the consequences of injuries, 6 kinds of living beings, devoid of piety and compassion, uncontrollable, unprincipled, lacking in common sense, unskillful, given to sensual pleasures, proud, deceitful, mischievous, lazy, and mysterious. So this describes the psychology of a person having black Lesya. The person with the blue Lesya is highly mysterious. He is exceptionally sleepy and deceitful, ignorant, rude, wicked, careless, intensely greedy towards worldly possessions and riches, engaged in sinful undertakings, and easily irritable. These are the psychological characteristics of a person having blue Lesya. Person with grey Lesya is irritable by temperament, talks ill of others, boastful, troublesome, morose, frightful by nature, envious, insults others, crooked, vile, heretical, jealous, dishonest, distrustful, indifferent, vainglorious, unmindful of loss to others, desires to die on the battlefield, generous to flattery, and indecent to in his actions. These are the kinds of characteristics of a grey Lesya. The person with the red Lesya knows what to do. Now these are good Lesyas. The next 3 which we are now talking of. The person with the red Lesya knows what to do or what not to do. That is, he says he can discriminate. He is dutiful, steady, knows what is fit or unfit for enjoyment, and is free from anger, pride, deceit and greed. He is self-controlled, impartial, compassionate, charitable, calm and gentle. So these are the good characteristics of a person having a red Lesya, Tejo Lesya. Then the Padma Lesya or yellow Lesya. Gentle qualities characterize the person with yellow Lesya. He is charitable, kind, benevolent, ever ready to do well to others, humble, steadfast, well disciplined, restrained, forbearing, devoted to saints and teachers, and strives after higher good. So, good characteristics of a person having yellow Lesya or Padma Lesya. And lastly, Shukla Lesya. A person with Shukla Lesya is impartial, engages in meditation to the law and truth, is not desirous of enjoyment of any kind, is practices samitis and guptis. These are the practices, special kind of practices described in Jain philosophy. He subdues his senses, remains calm, free from passions and detached from worldly affairs. A person having Shukla Lesya will have these remarkable characteristics. And as I told you, it is possible that these Lesyas may change with time. So we can have all these characteristics in our life depending upon our thoughts and our state of the soul. It's possible. But by and large, when you are having a certain kind of Lesya, you behave in a certain way, the psychology defined here. A popular kind of picture, which is associated with Lesya is given here. Suppose there is a person, or there are few persons, traveling in a forest, and they are hungry, and they come across a tree having fruits. So they want to eat the fruits, So what will be the approach of different persons having different kinds of Lesya in order to eat fruit, So this is described in this picture. A person, he wants to uproot the tree, He said, okay, let the tree fall down and then we will all eat the fruits. Another one says, no, why do you want to uproot the tree? You just cut the trunk, and get the Lesya, get the fruits, The third one said, no, why do you want to cut the trunk, You only cut the branches, Okay, and you can have the fruits. And the other one still says, no, there is no need to cut the branch also. You just pick up the twigs, take the twigs out, pluck the twigs and get the fruit. Then fifth one said, no, you don't have to do that also. Just, pluck the fruits, from the tree and eat. The last one says, no, gentlemen, you don't have to do any of these things, just eat the fruits which have fallen on the ground. So these represent the various kinds of psychology. The first wants to uproot the tree and he has black Lesya. The second one wants to cut the trunk, he has a blue Lesya. The third one wants to cut the branches and he has a grey Lesya. The fourth one wants to cut only the twigs having fruits and he has a yellow Lesya. The fifth gentleman wants to pluck the fruits only, the mangoes, So he has a pink Lesya. And the last one says that don't do any of these things, There are enough mangoes on the ground which have fallen, eat them. So he has Shukla or white Lesya. This is a important example, which is commonly cited in many of the books. There are other aspects of psychology determined by Lesya, So in the previously, we talked only about the patience, anger, ego, deceit and greed. But we also have no kashaya, and these also determine our psychology. This is what I am going to tell you now. So all I have collected here, all patience and dispatience, the anger, and the anger prevents buddhi or intellect to take the right decision. If you are in a mood of, if you are angry, in angry mood, your intellect does not work, and does not allow you to take a right kind of decision. Ego, if you have ego, this makes the buddhi or intellect personally biased in its own decision, so your decisions are biased and not impartial. Deceit, if you have this kind of patience, then that maligns your mind, and mind ignores the rules of ethics and morality. So if you have this deceit kind of patience working, then you forget about the ethics and morality, you want to have good of your only. Then greed, mind thinks of personal gain only and ignores its effect or harm it causes the others. Then generation of desires and attachment due to rise in rati no kashaya karma. Then you have desires, because of no rati karma, no kashaya karma. Dissatisfaction and aversion due to rise in arati no kashaya karma. So if this arati no kashaya karma is on rise, you feel aversion. Laughter, joking, sarcasm, ridicule, criticism, backbiting, satire, irony, humor and wit are due to rise of hashya no kasaya. Sorrow, grief, sadness, misery are due to rise of shok no kasaya. Fear and defensive actions are due to rise of bhaya no kashaya. Disgust and annoyance are due to rise of jugupsa no kashaya. And sexual desire due to rise of ved no kashaya. There are 3 ved as we know. Wisdom. So we had talked of Lesya, which is controlling or influencing our psychology. And we are under the influence of our Lesya or bhav. But what is wisdom? Wisdom is something, that you act in a manner, overcome your bhav or inner desires and work for the good of the soul, for the good of the society, This is wisdom. The wisdom always, tries to direct you to good actions, irrespective of Lesya. That is the point here, Your soul is not entirely guided by Lesya. Our soul can overcome the effects of Lesya and take good decisions, which is what is called as wise decisions, irrespective of what is happening in your inner personality. This is very important. So it's not to be assumed that the soul is helpless and cannot overcome the forces of Lesya and mind. Soul has the power to resist and override the malevolent forces created by Lesya and mind and engage in benevolent acts and thoughts. This is what I have just now told you, the soul has power to override the effects of Lesya and your thinking. Wise persons control their negative emotions and do not allow them to come in the way of positive thinking and acts, and thereby are able to follow the path of ethical and moral living and take right decisions even against all odds. This is the sign of wise person, He is against all odds and still can take good decisions which are according to ethical rules and moral rules, And that way a person can proceed on the path of spiritual progress irrespective of Lesya. So I have discussed with you in this lecture the important concept of Lesya, how it determines our psychology, and how the Lesya is related to body, and it determines the secretion of hormones which according to psychology determine our thinking, our emotions, our desires and so on. Thank you.